Okay, guys, as we have read what the story is about, now I will try to explain this story for you guys to understand easily. A man carrying a small red box in one hand walks slowly down the street. It's very simple. He's holding one red box and he's walking down on the road. His old straw hat, he had a hat. Straw is something else, but here it is used as an adjective. So straw hat, it will be like a plastic hat, you can say, because straw, it is a material, it is a thing, but here it's a plastic material, and a hat, it's used before a hat, which is a noun. So you can say that he had a plastic hat. And faded garments looked as if the rain had often beaten upon them. He had faded garments, like you can say old garments, because the sun was too hot and it hit all his garments. So his garments were too torn up. And the sun had as many times dried them upon this person. The same thing, he was so in a very heated environment. So this is what it means actually. He was not old. So it means he was not old. He was a moderate age person. But he seemed feeble. He seemed weak. He seemed you can say, very dizzy or weak because of that scorching sun. And he walked in the sun along the blistering asphalt pavement. A pavement is a kind of a surface made of stones and all those rocks. So he was also having difficulty in walking on such pavement. On the opposite side of the street, there were trees that threw a thick and pleasant shade. Now here's the twisting point. He was blind. As I've said, the most important blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal that he was lacking, was the eyes. So he couldn't see that shade that he was already provided with. But he couldn't. On the opposite side of the street, there were trees that threw a thick and pleasant shade. So again, he was blind. He couldn't see what he was provided with. He had the shade, he had each and everything, but he was blind, so he couldn't see. So he was walking beneath the hot, scorching sun. People were all walking on that side. So very simple. But the man did not know, for he was blind, and moreover he was stupid. So he was also stupid, and not just stupid, he was blind as well. So he was not walking beneath that shade. In the red box were lead pencils, which he was endeavoring to sell. Very simple, no need to make it easy. He carried no stick, but guided himself by trailing his foot along the stone copings or his hand along the iron railings. This is a very good point of this person, that he had no stick, because blind person usually carries a stick. But this guy, he was having nothing in his hand, but how he was walking on a street? By touching the walls or by touching the railings of stairs when he wants to climb or when he wants to go in a decline position. So he was taking all those helps from these objects. When he came to the steps of a house, he would mount them. It means he would climb them. When he came to the steps, he would climb them. Mount means to climb. Sometimes after reaching the door with great difficulty, he could not find the electric button. As he was blind, so he was searching for the electric bell. That how to ring a bell to enter the house. Whereupon he would patiently descend and go his way, where he would become helpless and he will march his own way. Some of the iron gates were locked, their owners being away for summer, and he would consume much time in striving to open them. So he would try to open them, as it was very, you can say, impossible, because they were locked by the owners. So, but he was trying to open because he expected that it might be open, so I could enter that house. Which made little difference, as he had all the time there was at his disposal. At his access. Disposal here, it gives another meaning. It gives the meaning of access. It doesn't give the meaning of the garbage that you get rid of. So it gives you the meaning of the access. So whatever he had in his possession, he could not have the complete ownership over them. At times he succeeded in finding the electric button. There were some times that he would be successful in finding that button. But the man or maid who answered the bell needed no pencil, nor could they be induced to disturb the mistress of the house about so small a thing. So when the maid or the mistress of the house would know that there is a person, so they would not give him that much attention, so they will just ignore that person. The man had been out long and had walked very far. He was for a long time walking underneath that scorching sun. So you can guess that how much he would be tired. But he sold nothing. He was trying to sell his pencils. Remember, in his box, there were lead pencils. So he was trying to sell them, but unfortunately, no one was giving him that much attention. So he could not sell anything. That morning, someone who had finally grown tired of him hanging around had equipped him with this box of pencils and sent him out to make his living. Hunger with sharp fangs was gnawing at his stomach, and a consuming thirst parched his mouth and tortured him. So as he was not doing well in his small business, so he was facing a lot of problems. He was facing hunger, he was facing thirst, and these two were torturing that person. The sun was broiling. It means it was very hot. He wore too much clothing, a vest and a coat over his shirt. As it is said in the lesson that he was stupid. So in this summer season, he was wearing overclothing, like he had overclothing on his body. He was wearing a vest, which is wore under your clothes. And he was also wearing an extra coat over that body, over his body. And also a shirt as well, of course. He might have removed these and carried them on his arm or thrown them away, but he didn't think of it. See, there is the stupid line of it, that he could have taken them off and hold them in his arm, and he could have a relaxing mood, but he couldn't because he was not that much of a person that we expected. A kind-hearted woman who saw him from an upper window felt sorry for him. There was a woman. So luckily, he found a very kind-hearted woman, and she saw she saw him from her house window and wished that he would cross over into the shade. And that woman, she was wishing that this blind person, I wish he could walk under this shade. But I think she also didn't know that he is blind. Turn to your next page. All right, page number 4. The man drifted into a side. He walked into a side street where there was a group of noisy, excited children at play. Now there were a bunch of kids. They were playing. The color of the box which he carried attracted them, and they wanted to know what was in it. So the kids, when they saw the man walking on a street, so they had this curiosity that what would be in his box. So they were willing to know. One of them attempted to take it away from him. One of the kids tried to take it away, to grab that box from him forcefully. With the instinct to protect his own and his only means of sustenance, he resisted, shouted at the children, and called them names. So he was resisting because in that box he had sustenance, he had his food, nourishment. So he even shouted so that few people on the street, if there are, they would hear and they would save me. And he also called them by name. So he called many names. He said, hey, don't do it. This is my box. You should not take it. A policeman coming around the corner and seeing that he was the center of a disturbance. So the policeman, saw this blind person, but he was in the center of those kids. So he thought that something is going wrong. Let me help that person. Jerked him violently around by the collar, but upon perceiving that he was blind, considerately refrained from clubbing him and sent him on his way. He walked on in the sun. Then police came and he helped that person, and he suggested the kids to go away, and he was walking on his own direction, the blind person. During his aimless rambling, he turned into a street where there were monster electric cars thundering up and down, clanging wild bells and literally shaking the ground beneath his feet with their terrific impetus. So now he came and he had faced a new area in which there were a lot of forces, a lot of sounds of cars, of electric cars. So he was now scared that, where am I going right now? Then something happened. Something happened at that time. What happened? Something horrible happened. Something terrific, horrible happened that made the woman faint. That made the woman faint. The woman, when she saw that person, the blind person, she was unconscious. She lost her all imagination and she fainted. And the strongest man who saw it grow sick and dizzy, the motorman's lips were as grey as his face, and that was ashen grey, and he shook and staggered from the superhuman effort he had put forth to stop his car. So he even stopped his car. He did his effort to save this poor person, but as everyone was helpless, so he was facing such sufferings. Where could the crowds have come from so suddenly, as if by magic? Boys on the run, men and women tearing up on their wheels to see the sickening sight, doctors dashing up in buggies as if directed by Providence. So he was scared, everyone was running, everyone was going in their cars, so he was very in a situation that he could not expect any safer place for him. And the horror grew when the multitude recognized in the dead and mangled figure one of the foresight. How could such a terrible fate have overtaken him? Everyone was thinking that how such poor fate has overtaken this poor person. He's facing many problems. He cannot do anything. He cannot even walk safely on a street. He was hastening from his business house, for he was late to join his family, who were to start in an hour or two for their summer home on the Atlantic Ocean. In his hurry, he did not perceive the other car coming from the opposite direction, so he didn't think of other car coming opposite to his direction. And the common harrowing thing was repeated. And again, that harrowing thing, that terrific thing was repeated. Again, it is quite clear that someone might again have disturbed him. The blind man did not know what the commotion was all about. He did not know what this transfer is all about. He had crossed the street, he moved the street, and there he was, stumbling on in the sun, trailing his foot along the coping. So he was again in his own bad situations. So this chapter, guys, is all about his sufferings, that how a single part of a body, which is eyes, can make a person suffer a lot. So you guys have a little bit idea of what this chapter is about. I know we have skipped many things. We have skipped sentences. We have skipped many ideas. But the main part, the main idea of ourselves is to get the idea of a blind person. Okay, guys, as we have finished chapter number 1, reading, listening, and pronunciation is also taken into account. So kindly focus on these elements as well. Now, for your homework, now this is the very important thing. As I give you the input, guys, I do expect from you guys the output. It's just a computer rule. So I'm giving you the inputs, you must give me the output. And how is that? Very simple. You have the homework on your book, turn and open the page number 4. Comprehension. What is our understanding? What did we understand from this story? So you can read all of this. I will read first to make it more easy so that you can do at your homes. For example, from paragraph 1, it means you have to search this question in paragraph 1. What is it? Number 1, describe what the blind man looked like in 2 or 3 sentences. Tell or describe that blind person, that how his body language, how his clothing were, and each and everything, that what image do you guys have of that blind person? use your own words as much as possible. So you can also use your own words. If you are stuck, you have the paragraph 1, you can search here that he was holding for example, no, he was wearing that old straw hat and his garments were faded. So all these things were giving us the clue that he was looking like this. So I expect you guys to solve the rest of 9 questions here, and I will also explain one hard, tough question here. Question number 8, page number 5. It says that from the whole passage, from the whole story, from the whole paragraphs, choose 5 words of the following. You have been given these words on the book on page number 5. What you have to do is you have to find the meaning of these words, as some of them are already explained thoroughly. For each of these, give one word or short phrase. Phrase, you can also use some of the words, a short part of a sentence. You do know what is a phrase. You guys are 10th standard students, so I hope you know what is a phrase. For example, if I say in the kitchen. For example, if I say on the table, right? At the roof. So these are not giving me the complete meaning, but it is a part of a sentence. That is called a phrase. So you can also, if you get stuck in meanings, so you can have your own understanding. You can write some of the words that you cannot even find in your dictionary. You can have some of the understanding, so in order to solve that. So what it says, you have to choose 5. So how many words do you have? I think you have 10 words. You have to choose 5 easy words, and you have to compare them. Choose the 5 following words. For each of them, give one word or short phrase which has the same meaning that the word has in the passage. So first you have to search this word in that particular paragraph, and then write down its meaning, that what it means. So this is your homework. Solve from question number 1 till question number 9, and today's session is over. And in the last, I would like to thank all of you for your utmost concentration and attention to our online teaching classes of Shams London Academy. And my last advice for you guys, the thought of the day, is look not back but forward. You should not look back but forward means that whatever is done, leave that, focus on your future, look forward, and get yourselves ready. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz. Okay guys, as we have finished our lecture, so at the end, for those who don't have the books, we do have the facility to provide you all these Oxford books of Shams London Academy at your doorsteps. So don't hesitate contacting us for the books. And also like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your attention. See you in next session. Allah Hafiz.
Shams London Academy. Shine your light.